The Reddit is boiling of a thread asking if companies really calculate training return on investment or it's just theater. People with more than 10 years of experience in learning and development said they've never seen it done. One summed it up: it's all theater and everyone knows it. If that's true, and it often is, what should we do instead? Because we can't measure return on investment isn't a strategy, especially not with the senior management. And today we are breaking down the issue: when we can show impact, training gets cut. So, what do we do instead?
Let's name the problem clearly. The standard training return on investment formula really might look like net benefit minus training costs. Then we just like divide by another training cost, and basically we just get like some result. And unfortunately, many organizations do not actually treat return on investment as the idea that we need to care more for the improvement of performance, on investing on some new tools, new techniques, practices, and so on. But it's more towards how much more money we would spend into all these ideas. And here is the thing that should make every L&D professional feel slightly vindicated. We all know Kirkpatrick, right? And this is something as I would say is a Bible at this point. But you see, the son of the man who created this Kirkpatrick model reportedly said at the ATD conference that they only actually used all four levels once. Yeah, because it's too expensive to use all of them. And yeah, the framework has been the golden standard since like 1950s. And yeah, it was just created once, done once, and that's it. And basically, I think it tells you everything. So, what is actually happening in most companies? The companies normally measure a few different aspects whenever they want to evaluate trainings. For instance, completion rates. Did people finish the course? There could be a measurement of satisfaction. If there were any like feedback provided, did people actually enjoy it? And obviously, there could be other things like some attendance, or if anybody applied already the learned material into their practice, so we could actually see the result. So, definitely something that you should keep in mind, that we do training and we want people to actually learn and use the knowledge that they received into their work. And unfortunately, if you're too invested into understanding the precise numbers, or just I don't know, mixing them up as well, unfortunately it's not going to be something as it should be. um, Another deeper problem: when L&D can show real impact, we become the first item line to basically like cut. Yeah, whenever budget gets tight. So what you want to like try to uh, like sum down is basically like cutting off the trainings. And not because training doesn't work, right? But because we haven't learned to talk about it in the right language. We use a lot of abbreviations, theories, and other like frameworks and stuff. But unfortunately, there is no change as for 2026. We want to share with you three effective metrics that actually tell you something that actually could be used. And obviously, number one is time to proficiency. Basically, the most, I would say, underused metric in L&D, and the one that is most directly tied to real business value. Basically, time to proficiency asks how long does it take someone to reach this like independent, consistent performance on a specific task. So in this way, you don't really ask when they completed the course, but actually you would care, okay, how long did it take them to finish certain activities, to be confident into applying the new skill or improved skill into some of their tasks and their overall performance. And definitely, again, it's not about completion of a quiz or result of the I don't know, some tasks, yeah, or when they finish the course. It's actually doing the job without hand holding, let's say it this way. If onboarding used to take around 6 weeks to get someone performing independently, and now it takes around like 3 and a half sometimes weeks, and that is not an estimate. This is the reality. And basically that's a number. Yeah, that's also a number. You can attach a cost to that. You can show how you can show it as a trend, and additionally you can replicate it. And yeah, and just the last one thing to mention, that the key is defining proficient, mm, is before you build the training, actually, because it's not about you are able to complete the task, but it's about you're able to complete it within like some minutes, some hours, some days, and with fewer errors, with like less mistakes, less necessity of like mentors and more senior management, without again asking for any help. So this is something that we should really focus on, rather than okay, it took like 3 weeks to complete the training, that's it. Yeah, another thing, another metric is assessment variance. So not talking about the average scores, and you see most, for example, LMS dashboards, they might show you maybe the average quiz score, right? You would see maybe 80%, you know, and like, oh yeah, okay, that's good, that's perfect, that's amazing. But that's a wrong thing to look at, and to look at that from this perspective, because what you want to watch is the variance, the distribution of scores. If 80% of your team passes a module comfortably, and the rest, like 20%, consistently fail, then this pattern is a signal, basically. It's either a delivery problem, or some big knowledge gap, or the wrong people in the training, and any of those is actionable, actually. The average hides the problem, the distribution reveals it. And I definitely would say that it is not a perfect return on investment calculation, but it's credible, it's directional, and leadership definitely accept it. The last metric is observable behavior change. This is the hardest to collect, but the most honest ever you will have. After training, is the person actually doing something differently? Can you see the changes? Can you see the improvement, or can you see something has worsened? For instance, our sales rep using the new framework, new technique on calls that you provided? Maybe yes, maybe no, but you really need to understand how and what they do after the training. And definitely, you don't get it just from the quiz, or just with a simple, yeah, got it. But you really, really, really need to get it from manager observation, from call recordings, peer feedback, basically even a simple structured check-ins, like I don't know, every other week, or every 2 weeks, every month after the training, depends on your consistency. Simple structured again check-ins could really give you more ideas, rather than a 6 months project, which would be more complex. And here's the practical approach. You need to pick the two or like three programs with the highest business stakes. Mm, Build a simple behavior checklist. See, I don't know, five observable behaviors, and then there is a yes, there is a no. You just check on that. Do it 30 days post training. Do it 2 weeks post training, and after, ask managers to fill in some information. That data, if collected consistently over a few quarters, will tell you much more about the training effectiveness than any return on investment formula. I know that most of you thinking, okay, great speech, but I still need to show some numbers to my senior managers. Well, definitely, you might not show only this behavioral checklist, because for them it would mean nothing. And it is always the hardest part whenever we need to stand up and actually show that there are a bit more than just numbers of when they completed that, how much, I don't know, over the budget we actually spent towards the training. And definitely my suggestion whenever there is situation of, are we spending this money wisely? Is it making any difference? You can come up with, okay, I cannot give you a fully isolated return on investment number, and anyone who does it is probably estimating generously. What I can show you is this. What you can try to demonstrate. First of all, time to proficiency. For instance, it dropped by several weeks, let's say 5 weeks for new hires this quarter. Then you would say assessment scores in the compliance program improved 22% compared to last cycle. And teams that went through the leadership training have a promotion rate double those that didn't. These are real numbers, actually. They are credible, they tell an honest story. Obviously, they might be different from for your organization. However, there is one thing that leadership actually cares about and rarely says out loud: Are we failing behind? Basically, they want to know if people developing fast enough for what business needs next quarter, next year. And that's the question about learning velocity, not return or a single on a single training dollar, let's say. Show them a trend over time. You can really break it down into some little graphics, which again would demonstrate the numbers, but they are not going to be just stuck towards specific rates of completion thing. Show them a trend over time. Show them that skill gaps identified in quarter one are closing in quarter three now. Show them that the time to proficiency is moving in the right direction. That's the conversation that builds real, lasting credibility for learning and development. Not a number pulled from a spreadsheet that nobody quite believes. And definitely, just to make it again more real, understand your organization. Whenever you are an HR, L&D training specialist, you must understand the things related to your organization better than anyone else. Not always metrics that you learned some while ago would apply to your organization. So that is why it's important that you actually understand what it means to have a training inside of the place where you work. And another thing, none of the things I mentioned would work without the correct tools. Whenever you're pulling data manually at the end of every quarter, it gets chaotic. And that is why it's important to understand which sort of tools might actually help you to keep everything organized, simple, and trackable. I would suggest that one of the strongest and nicest LMS on the market would be Educate Me, in case whenever you actually want to understand what's going on inside of your training. Whenever I have a situation that, okay, there is a manager who needs to do some several trainings, um, yeah, you can easily create a course with AI, which again saves a lot of time and energy. And it also looks fantastic in terms of the program and the way how it's created. So your learners actually would engage, and they would like to engage within some visually nice and clean platform. Another thing is the dashboard. I enrolled one learner, and for me, it's super simple to see their progress, if they need any help. And obviously, I have to say, one of the latest features there were analyzed with AI. And let me tell you, whenever you as L&D or training manager need to analyze some submissions, whether it's quiz, calls, or for instance any assignments, it can get messy if you have a lot of people to check or a lot of submissions of a person to check. And here the AI does the job for you, and I can say it does it very well and in a much detailed version than some of the managers would do. And it definitely saves a lot of time and a lot of energy to put work into other things. And yeah, again, I do say that the shift from retro perspective reporting to real time visibility is the operational difference between how L&D react and how they actually improve the performance. And obviously, super simple to export all necessary information for your managers to show how your learners are doing. In this video, we talked a lot about return on investment. And just to summarize it very quickly, not always the numbers are the most crucial and necessary things as we actually need to think of. And yes, the right question isn't what's the return on investment of this training, but the right question is this training making people measurably better at their jobs, and can I show that trend over the time? That is why track time to proficiency, watch your score distributions, collect behavioral observations. Really, you need to build these things into quarterly narrative for leadership, not a formula, a story backed by real data. Definitely, we do recommend to see the full breakdown of the performance metrics, which sometime I mentioned today, like some goal completion rates as well, quality benchmarks, inside of the Educates Me blog post, which I will link in the description under the video. Thank you so much. Subscribe, and we will see you on another video.